I'm going to hand over to our first moderator of the day. Exactly. It's Jacki Vause from Dimoso, and you can introduce your tech panel. So, yeah, brilliant. Come on
They're
up.
all here.
Yeah, well, fine. I'll get out of the way.
It's been difficult to get in this morning. There's so many people, Dave.
Yes.
Morning. So I'm Jacki Vause from Dimoso. I'm moderating. Dimoso is the world's best agency for marketing and PR for the video games industry. There you go. That's my plug. So, Chris, why don't you introduce yourself, both sides of you?
Thank you, Jacki. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Hainsworth, the game CFO. I've been in games about 6 years and most of my career in film development and finance. And I help rapidly growing game studios with finance stuff, typically a little bit later stage when the companies are approaching exit or when they're looking to expand or take new offices and that kind of thing. So I really enjoy that work, and in my evenings and weekends I run Blind Burners, which is a group of sighted and non-sighted artists from the Burning Man community building our own worlds in virtual reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Taewon.
Hey guys, my name is Taewon Yoon. I'm the CBO at Super Evil Megacorp. We are developing a cross-platform MOBA and other action game titles. And I myself has been in game industry around 30 years now, but I always have been developing multiplayer games, starting with the PC era to the MMOs like World of Warcraft to the World of Tanks, and with my current company Super Evil, worked on Vainglory and Karas Black, and we are also still working on a few games that are not announced as of yet. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, guys.
Now, Alex.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Redlight Finance. We are a blockchain company, so we do provide full Web3 incorporations into the emerging GameFi scene. I'm super excited about that because the gaming industry is the fastest growing industry in the world, so happy to bring a new technology to that space.
Great. Liam?
Hello, I'm Liam Baloh. I am a research and development engineer at Product Madness. We are a top 25 publisher by revenue worldwide, and we are currently looking for things to publish. So if you're looking, move G13.
And Barak.
Hello, my name is Barak. I'm the CEO of Murka. We are a social casino and casual games developers.
Fantastic. So this is an amazing panel representing many different areas of this industry, and as you all know, this industry is diverse and growing and changing all the time at a rapid pace. So before I start, has anybody got any burning issues that they want to hear about from this panel, taking advantage of all their experience? No burning issues. Okay, let's start with some burning issues then. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, and we pre-briefed, so everybody knows this already, is let's talk a little bit about the new tech developments that are happening in the industry. And I'm going to call on Liam first off to talk a little bit about the shift over to ARM.
Yeah, so at the moment we're in a state. The game development is going through a period of a bunch of changes happening at the same time. We are seeing a move from x86 to ARM as a base platform. We're seeing a bunch of language changes with a lot of established languages like Java and JavaScript and Flash as well, moving on to, and C++, moving on to new ones like Kotlin and Hex and Rust and WebAssembly and similar. So we're seeing a bunch of changes, as well as the move from development on PCs and Macs onto things like Android and iOS. We're seeing a lot of these changes happening at the same time, which open the opportunity for,
Well, we were talking about having development opportunities for developers.
Right, yes. So we're seeing we have a bunch of established platforms, right? Unity and Unreal, they're the main ones. And with all of these changes, what ends up happening is that they are trying to get a lot of their, they need to adapt to all of these changes, and they have large platforms, which means that they have to focus a lot of their time and effort and engineering time on adapting to all of these changes that are happening instead of providing user value or value to developers. This means that that other developers have currently an opportunity to effectively leapfrog the established developers and go and develop platforms which are set for the future world, which may take a slice of the development pie, providing a specialized set of features instead of a global solution. Yeah.
So you were talking to me about how that would sort of affect Unreal or Unity in terms of for developers working within those platforms.
Yeah, I think I think Unity and Unreal are going to be around for the foreseeable future, right? So nobody who's working in those platforms has anything to fear. However, because there is an opening at the moment for more platforms, there is an opportunity for platforms to develop. There is the possibility that additional specialized tool chains, platforms, features, services might emerge over the next few years. So as developers, I would look at this field, pay attention, and see which emerging platforms and technologies might be the correct development tools to use for your next projects.
Because it's all changing, isn't it? The whole sort of
everything is changing. A lot of things are changing all at once. That's basically the thesis here, right? We're not seeing change in just one field. We're seeing change over several fields all at once, which might lead to a period of higher fracturing of the game development space, in particular, where at the moment we have a number of obvious choices, so to speak. In the future, in the next coming years, up until 2030, we might see a fracturing of these into several more options, which provide specialized technologies and solutions.
Yeah. And I'm going to zip forward a little bit, because obviously we're short on time. So I wanted to say one of those big changes is obviously blockchain. And there's a lot of people here with a lot of experience on blockchain. I'm going to go to you, Taewon, to talk a little bit to us about that impact, because you're in it, you're developing in it.
Well, it's more like I'm looking into developing in it as a AAA game developer.
Yeah.
Before we jump into something new, we want to make sure that it is working, it is a technology makes sense, and then also want to make sure that we can create a great game using the technology. Right now, for me and for Split Evil, we are looking it as a less of a game designing or the game changing tool, but more of a way to hopefully revolutionize how business model works around the game, and then seeing different business model comes up and changing the game industry over the last 30 years. The business model has been changing. Is a cyclic change roughly each decade, right? When I first started, everything was premium or pay-per-play, and then subscription has been a core business model for a while, and then the last decade was era of free-to-play. Then this decade, what's going to be the mainstream business model is something I'm always thinking about, and then blockchain actually can provide one of the tool for that.
Yeah.
And then one thing to caveat is that right now, so-called crypto winter is something actually really excites me, because it essentially when new tech comes out, always comes with a lot of the different nuances of application, and then this sort of thing actually helped to get rid of really not working stuff, and then only the one that focus on core would remain and develop. And that's what I'm hoping to do, and then I'm sure that you'll be able to talk more about that.
Yeah, take that on, Alex.
As a AAA game developer.
Sure. Yeah, the blockchain space and the crypto space in general is just so new. It's like playing arcade games back in the 80s and playing Galaga with your quarters. And you saw how rapidly that advanced, but also the gaming industry in its current situation is kind of leaning towards trying to attract users in a seamless experience, right? And blockchain's not there yet. It's really not. You can't go to a guy at 7-Eleven and have an advertisement for a game on your phone and expect them to want to try to play do a play-to-earn game and utilize NFTs and then teach them how to utilize gas, teach them how to utilize a wallet. You can't really expect them to want to go the extra mile in learning that knowledge base just to play a game, right? Because at the end of the day, they're downloading games on their phone, they're playing games on their PlayStations, on their PCs, and they just want to let go. They don't want to have to learn anything outside of the game itself. And that's where Redlight, that's what we're trying to do, is create a seamless user experience through our gasless blockchain and allow gaming companies that are already established to have games that are already established that want to integrate blockchain technology and allow them to integrate blockchains.
So do you think that'll work?
Yes.
Do you think, well, I mean, you know, sometimes I think you have to have a blockchain first mentality when you're developing the games. Just porting games over doesn't necessarily work. It was like whenever you tried to take over the big console games and stick them on a mobile platform, it just didn't work.
No, 100% I agree. That's what we're trying to change, because a lot of crypto games right now are so basic and they're not game-oriented, they're crypto-oriented, and that leaves kind of like a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth, because why do you play video games? You want to, let go, you want to enjoy the story, you want to, either if you're playing Call of Duty, you want to shoot people and, have multiplayer, right? You want to have a good time. Whereas crypto games, they're more focused on the play to earn, on NFTs, and how you can make money, where what realistically needs to happen is we need to take AAA titles, very good indie games, and start to integrate blockchain technology on a game-first aspect.
What do you think about that, Barak?
No, I do think that it depends what the value will be to the user and to the player in the end of the day. Like trying to say, if you have already a AAA game, that it's working nicely and have a good user base that are enjoying and playing, what will be the added value? And we discussed what will be the added value of adding the blockchain. The technology is basically the enabler to create a better experience for the users and to create a better gameplay and create a better added value. In the end of the day, I think it's need to start from the player perspective, from the business perspective, how we will contribute with this technology rather than trying to use this technology to help the developer to integrate it to the game. And sometimes with teams that are using blockchains and other technology, actually, we see that they are trying to take the technology and push it to the game rather than do the opposite. Okay, what is in it for me? What is in it for the user? And I think that this is the fundamental question that need to be answered before we know what will be the value and how it will really going to change the game experience.
If I chime in just a little bit, I think that I'm exactly in between these two gentlemen because I also don't. So like in my opinion that the strapping on blockchain to the game doesn't actually work. That part is true. And then I also think that a lot of existing AAA game franchises trying to adopt blockchain or the NFTs whatnot to those game ecosystem is going to be extremely hard as well, because so one of the promises of the blockchain and the Web3 is that giving ownership back to the players. And then part of it requires for publishers to give up part of the traditional revenue stream they used to have, and then if not, unless to avoid the the peril of that the pyramid scheme, that needs to happen. And then I kind of over the course of the last 2 years, I've tried to design different ecosystem. Because I have been in experiences in MMO ecosystems for a while. I know exactly how that works out, and then that was my conclusion, that you need to give up something, and then to expect something bigger down the road, but it's not guaranteed, right? That's why the AAA games actually run into a innovative dilemma, because you cannot easily jump on it because of the reason why you do something. At the same time, the new games, the dilemma of they have to create great game first. They think about how to apply the blockchain. So creating something really interesting in the Web3 game space is really hard to do.
It is.
Because you have to do a lot of things all at the same time, and then nothing is proven as of yet. So that's why when I see someone, hey, we have blockchain technology, we'll give you to integrate for your game, I'm saying thank you, but no thank you.
I agree. And Chris, I mean, you're, from a financial perspective, I'm asking you to put your finance hat on here. In terms of game economies and almost recreating game economies for blockchain, because you've got to think in a different way as a developer for blockchain. Have you got any great insights to share on that? Or is it just a work in progress?
I'm really not a blockchain person, and I'm sure pretty much everyone in the audience knows more about it than I do. But I admire anybody who's building something new that doesn't exist. So even despite all the flack that the industry gets, I kind of have a lot of time for the effort that you guys are putting into it. I remember, I think 3 years ago on this stage, it was the first blockchain gamer conference.
Yeah.
And it was like the guy from Axie was here, all of the main platforms, the people who built those were on this stage, and I think Tony Pierce from Reality Gaming Group,
Yes.
who expresses the case really compellingly, when you like 2 to 3% of mobile consumers actually pay for an in-app purchase, and what would happen if we doubled that, and the extrapolation from that. So I can't really do better than Tony in terms of like the impact, and I understand that. Yeah,
That's very
I
cool.
think that's it. I think I'd ask the audience in the panel if they can recommend any games that are fun. Like, and I don't mean that.
I've cast anybody here thinking of developing on blockchain?
Yeah.
Anybody thinking of developing on blockchain or developing on blockchain right now? Just 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. So there's a few. All right, I'm going to move quickly on from blockchain through to generative AI, because that seems to be the buzz of everything. I'm sure we've got a lot of sessions on, I know we've got a lot of sessions on generative AI over the conference. I'm going to move to you, Barak. How do you see that affecting the social casino space?
So I think here there are 2 layers, basically. The first layer is it's helping the developers. We know we created the better models with AI. We can improve our tools, and we can, in the end of the day, improve our prediction and forecast and how we are using our tools to improve the user experience. All our models are AI and machine learning based, and we really see it like in the past 3 to 5 years, it's really becoming more and more advanced. We know to predict in a better way. We know to analyze, and we know really to see a better and better tools that are developing and being better every day. The other layer, which I think it's more exciting, it's the future, how it will change the user experience. Because when the games will become more and more adaptive to change, and more modules that actually can change the user experience while he's playing, in the social casino, for example, but also in the casual space, the users that are playing every day for many hours, we have like really big players that are spending hours per day. If you will be able to show them and to create for them a different, but a really different user experience based on their behavior on the game, I think that's something that will change dramatically how the game are operating and how the user is feeling and is experiencing the game. And I think this actually, if we are comparing to our previous discussion, this is something that is very exciting and really going to change and impact game developers, but also players worldwide and cross genres.
I agree. Anybody in the audience working with any generative AI tools or platforms or come across them? No? Wow. I can put a plug in here now for one, which is ludo.ai. You should definitely look at that in the ideation process. Huh? Is he speaking now? Great, good. Anybody else want to say anything about generative AI? Taewon.
Yeah, obviously, someone who is looking into new technology, I do that for sure. And I'm looking into it in 2 different aspects. One is that how we can utilize it as a pipeline in developing AAA games. Again, I'm saying in perspective of someone who is doing a AAA game, and then using it as sort of the prototype tool is already happening. In that sense, generative AI is already being used as a part of game development. Using it as a part of the AAA pipeline, I think that it will take several years. There are multiple reasons why behind that, but everyone should be talking about that here in conference, so I'm not going to the detail. But it'll take for a while. And then the other aspect of it is that business model as well as user-generated content. So creating a AAA quality AI generated asset will be different, but if players are using it to create a what they want to see
Yeah.
using game asset, that is something that you can do immediately, and then I think that is going to be the first adoption of how that will be introduced to the game. So the any game, if you have a some fan base on your game, there are people who wants to create a little art around your game, and then most people cannot really do that because they're not like, if I draw something on my own, it'll be a stickman. But with AI, I can actually create a plausible looking characters of my own game, and then that is really exciting thing to do. And then I think that there is a way we can easily incorporate that as a part of the UGC platform, as well as a monetization for the game, and then that will actually one of the things that I believe that will be revolutionizing the business model of the games in this decade.
Great. Chris, do you think generative AI is going to help at all in our quest for more accessibility in games? That's a big question, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I have a couple of thoughts that I'll try and just bullet point. In terms of my world, which is like low vision virtual reality, it's really interesting seeing. So personally, I don't particularly appreciate any of the generative art that's on there. It's really, really boring. But if you think about what that can do for someone who can't see, and that's the most challenging space when I talk to games companies and try and evangelize career paths for blind coders, blind designers, people who innovate daily through their overcoming disability. Art is the one where I feel I'm kind of blagging it, frankly. It's at times the idea of friends who are blind becoming visual artists. And what that technology, which is currently being used in fairly banal ways, albeit people having fun with it, is really, I find that really interesting to think about. And then conversely, the idea, so that's text to image.
Yeah.
And then if you take image to text, and the idea of
Yes.
making either the physical world navigable, or in our case, making the virtual world navigable, and that challenge of describing a whole room. So a visual sense is unique in that it's everything all at once, and that semantic structure that explains, and when you think about those beautiful experiences that you have in any open world game, Red Dead Redemption, riding across those hills and the detail, and the facial expressions, it's AI is, human storytellers, I believe, are best placed to train those AIs to convey that experience to someone who can't see it.
100%.
But AI is absolutely the technology that will deliver it.
And it's back to storytelling, isn't it? And using all of the senses and being able to cater to those. And I think AI could really create those kind of generative AI, because we're using AI all the time already, but it's generative AI, I think, can really make some impact in that. Alex, you wanted to...
I actually have one more comment on it. So I used to work on one of the biggest MMOs in history, which is called World of Warcraft.
Oh, just drop that.
And then we had a 200 plus team to create content for the for the expansions. And then biggest problem we always had is that we cannot create enough content.
Yeah.
Once we drop a new expansion, players go through it in a day and ask, hey, what's next? We have 2 more years to work on new content. And then that is actually the long-term development perspective. Actually, that was why when I decided that I will never want to work on a game like World of Warcraft ever again. It simply takes too much time. But it's new application of those AI. I can see that the creative narrative director can create a backbone of the storyline. But all those side quests or the new interesting NPCs or not can be combined and coming out of the parameters that the human designer can provide. That I think that it is really interesting to see what kind of new storyline or the side quest interesting instead of the seeing the same NPC and same quest over and over again. You may be able to in the next few years be able to see that even the main storyline may be the same, each one of you may go through the different stories through the game. And that's what really excites me. But again, that is actually
So
I
way
think they're at
ahead.
least 3 to 5 years away.
Chris,
Yeah, I just had a thought about AI and business and that side of it. And it was last week I was trying to answer this really quite obscure tax question about withholding tax. We're trying to pay tax once, but not twice. There's all of this post-Brexit legislation about withholding tax treaties between the US and the UK. And I was asking all of our professional advisors, which box do I tick to not pay tax twice? And none of them would give a straight answer. Like lawyers from a big tech company wouldn't help me out with this question. And in the end, in desperation, I went to ChatGPT and typed in which box did I tick on my W8 Ben form. And it didn't quite get me to the answer, but it gave me a phenomenal summary of like multiple iterations of legislation and commentaries and like global tax structures. And I then went and reread some stuff, and like 2 hours later I got it.
so that's a good tip.
I thought that was a real wake-up call in terms of professional advisory and just bringing it back to like game dev and thinking about some of the stuff that I've wrestled with, like seeing how game developers plan their, plan development sprints and seeing all of those challenges. And judgment is such an important part of that, and you pay people for their experience and being able to take calls and risks and allow space for uncertainty and all those things. I feel AI, once trained around those, you have different personalities of project management. That's really interesting to me for small development studios to be able to tap into that sort of seasoned expertise.
It's a real leveler. It's a game changer in some ways. It levels the game for people who don't necessarily have the access to the huge resources that larger companies do. So I'm absolutely with you on that. And I think it will help. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to speak, but I think it will really help superpower creativity as well in this industry, which is a great thing. Alex, you would.
Yeah. So generative AI in gaming. It's been around for a little bit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with one of the most hyped game in the early 2010s, No Man's Sky. The problem with generative AI in that sense was that it got repetitive real quick, really fast. It was travel, discover, mine, leave. Travel, discover, mine, leave. And the only thing that changed was the AI generative assets. So the animals that you discover, they all look different. The planets were all different. The ships you encountered were all different. But eventually, you started to notice the pattern. And like my colleague said, we're about 2, 3, maybe even 4 years out from AI really being enough to where it can continuously create content that's not repetitive. Because at the end of the day, if we want to play a game for like World of Warcraft, I've done probably hundreds of hours into that game. And it's something that's so enjoyable because it's not as repetitive as other things. Every 2 years, I play it for about a year and 6 months, and then for 6 months, I'm on leeway until the next expansion comes out. But it's because there's always something new, and that's what AI needs to achieve, especially generative, in order to be adaptable inside gaming.
And also, it's bringing. You sort of touched upon it a little bit, Barak, but in terms of forecasting and data analytics. Is it going to make a big change when it comes to sort of planning ahead?
Yeah, so I think that definitely it's going to help. Today we are spending a lot of time of creating reports, analyzing the data, getting conclusions out of it, which is the most complicated part actually. And I do believe that step by step, and again, in the panel we are talking about what will be the future at 2030. So I do think that in 7 years from now, we will see a big difference, and obviously the technology is still in the beginning. We see recently that it's not so a beginning as we believe, but it will become more and more advanced soon, and 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's really a big time period to this technology to improve, especially when big companies are investing a lot of money and resources in order to develop it. And when related to business planning and the business tools, to Chris' points as well, I do believe it will help us significantly. It will create and will help us analyze the data. It will help us to create the vision and the reports and what we need to look at. And it's not there yet, but I do believe that in the next decade, it will change how we are looking on a business and how we are looking on the data in particular. And when talking about the game content, so there is a possibility that it will be repetitive and it will not be so innovative. Maybe. Let's see how it will look 10 years from now. But even the ability to create the content, the assets, the arts, and all those parts, it's really accelerating the game development, and especially for small studios, 20, 30 people that sometimes don't have enough resources in order to create the content for a long playtime. That's something that is going to change it, and it will be, I believe, relatively in a lower cost in compared to really have big teams.
So, a few years ago, like some of the biggest fear that the Western game developers had was the fact that like once you come up with a new game, a new concept, new idea on one platform, in 6 months there are 20 different same game from Chinese studios backed by NetEase and Tencent.
Yeah.
This is actually, I'm not joking, this is like a real threat we've been worried about for a long time. And now, one of the things that AI will do is that it actually democratize the game development in that way, meaning that like you come up with a new game, now instead of the like 20 game from China, there will be million game all over the world by a single person studio. Right? How to meet that challenge is going to be a really interesting thing to think about. So there may be a side effect of innovation, and that is actually like I think that realistic aspect that's going to happen as well in the next 10 years.
Yeah, like at the moment, I'm feeling like the current iteration of generative AI is largely going to find itself in tools, so not necessarily as a. I'm not entirely sure if this current generation will advance to the point where a single person studio can actually create games all with the help of AI. However, we are going to get to that quite likely at some point. I'm just not sure it's this iteration or this last break.
By 2030.
Yeah, but well,
Maybe.
I mean, the last major breakthrough that I can think of is personal assistants, right? Which was 10 years ago. That's more than 7. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm fairly confident. I'm fairly confident we will see something like that, like the ability to create like press button, the mythical tick to add MMO capabilities button, but we'll see.
Create MMO. Yeah, that's gonna happen, I think.
No? Any more thoughts on generative AI and what developers need to be thinking about? All right, we've got 8 minutes left. I'm just wondering if you've got any questions.
I can add one thing.
Go on.
Start register single-person company game studio so that you can create all those AI games now.
Any questions at all? Oh, here we go. Right, Sam? Have we got? Oh, Sam's miles away. So I'm going to come down to you and just talk to you. It's all right. You can talk into my lapel.
Okay.
Oh no, she's coming. She's coming. Okay, great.
Before AI.
My name's David. I'm from Greenfield Capital. We are a crypto investment firm located in Germany. We invest in Web3 companies, also in GameFi. I know the terminology is sometimes a little bit controversial, and so I really took a lot of courage to come here because there's a lot of resistance towards Web3 actually. But so also since there's only one person or two who kind of is actually developing blockchain, my question is actually for Taewon also with regard to Super Evil Megacorp, because you've been around there for quite some time, and so I want to know a little bit more in detail as to how you are potentially getting into the Web3 space. What are precisely the benefits of Web3 that you're thinking of kind of applying? Because obviously as a Web3 investor, we think, in 5 to 10 years, we won't have a differentiation between Web2 and Web3. There will be games with token, there will be games without token, there will be games with stable coins, some with NFTs. So to be honest, in 5 to 10 years, pretty much like everything will be tokenized, and then we even might not use credit cards, but wallet connected to stablecoin fiat on ramp is probably not necessary anymore. But my question is really on the game economic side. Like, how do you see Super Evil Megacorp diving into the Web3 space, and what do you make out of it?
So this is actually more of the personal opinion rather than like as a representative of a Super Evil. But like what we are looking into is that like any technology we look at is that like just as a part of a tech stack, right? We're also looking at crypto and Web3 as a tech stack instead of the like ideology or philosophy of changing something new. So as a like long time free to play game developer, I think that I see that there are something that was the like challenge or missed opportunity in free to play games, which was the like the existence of like gold farmers or the like secondary markets, as well as like when we sell items to players, do they own it or do they rent it? Like do they license this, so on and so forth. So when Web3 first came out, that was what I was looking at. I think that that could be something that Web3 can solve us, and how that will change gameplay, progression system and whatnot. And then, like when I started to talk to the like Web3 people around those, what they want to do is that like it really confused me in a way that like they just talk about tokenomics and DAO and whatnot, and then those are the ones that to me like really contradicting what I know and what I learned like from experiences. And then I actually think that like those, if we as game developer, if we don't worry about those stuff as a financing tool, but just focus on the like tech of like NFTs and also the like the fact that you can tokenize your in-game currency or asset. I think that there is a lot of interesting things you can do using like your business model, and then I haven't seen, like, to me it seems really obvious, but somehow that sort of like application didn't really, like, I didn't really see any of games that actually does that. And then that is actually the angle that we are looking into and how we can do it. And then we'll probably do it with the, instead of coming up with a new game, we'll probably do changing the game that we made already, and we know that is a great game, to see that it can actually benefit the players and us at the same time.
So you're really talking about doing what Alex was talking about, which is taking that game and popping it on with all of that game, I say popping it on, it's obviously a much bigger job than that.
No, what I mean is that here is that like as a developer, one thing I really like to do is that I want to minimize the risk profile of doing a new project, because creating a new game is really, really difficult to do. That alone, humongous effort. And then think about trying to figure out and do something that is not even proven as of yet. That's another like humongous risk you're taking. So the way I'm looking at it is that I need to minimize the risk of doing development of Web3 games in a way that we can focus on one thing, like solve one thing only, and be able to solve the entire problem. So that's where I don't want to create a new game to step on the Web3 economy.
Yeah.
I want to do our own like already successful game, and then changing the economy to experiment and to try out a new economy using a Web3.
Does that answer your question? Any other questions? All right, I'm going to bring up the M word then. The metaverse. Alex hangs his head. How do we feel, Alex, about the metaverse?
We're not there yet. We're definitely not there yet.
I mean, I say the metaverse. I mean, there's metaverses, omniverse. What is it?
I am super fan of Ready Player One. That ideally is what I want it to be like. I want the haptic suits. I want gloves. I want a VR headset and a trackpad where I can stand in one place and I can enjoy the game while also getting fit because I'm running around inside the metaverse. Realistically, we're just not there yet. The technology in VR headsets hasn't grown.
But do you think the metaverse is VR?
Not necessarily, no. If you really think about it, World of Warcraft, I mean, any MMO, any mega online multiplayer is technically a metaverse. Right? You're entering yourself into a new realm. You're role-playing, right? Any game is essentially a metaverse in that sense. My rendition of a metaverse would be a fully immersive experience, 100%, with a VR headset, and we're just not there yet. I don't think there's enough competition in the space in regards to VR headsets to really push to get there. We will get there eventually, I really do believe so, because, I mean, it keeps coming up over and over and over again. It's like the #1 talked about topic in VR is the comparison to Ready Player One.
Yeah.
And then if they choose to integrate that with blockchain technology and crypto, having that ownership of NFTs and assets, in my opinion, would be very essential, because if you're trying to replace the ecosystem, if you're trying to build an economy around it, it'll be very interesting to see how companies take that ownership level to the players.
Absolutely. You're nodding away, Taewon. What do you think?
Well, if you think about, like, assuming that you guys watch it, like Ready Player One, like everyone is wearing this headset, and then at that moment I was like, that's not gonna happen, because like the one of the key reasons why I didn't work on VR from the beginning was because of that form factor. Like again, developer as well as gamer myself. If there is a like new gadget or device you need to have, and it actually creates some sort of friction, it doesn't go mass market.
Yeah.
And then so the VR headset, having it like try to have it for like more than 10 minutes, you will suffer. And then like funny thing is that the Ready Player One, they was supposed to showing like 30 years from now or whatnot, and then they are still showing that the headset was like, to me, the most like ridiculous thing to happen. So for me, again, for me to believe in two aspects of the like the VR or AR powered metaverse is I'll wait until someone comes up and is show a really either contact lens based or the like just glasses based like VR AR glasses that really works, and then that's a lot to go, because you have to either put in enough CPU power on these like glasses, or you need to stream it fast enough so that you can actually project it to your glasses. So
it ain't happening on 5G.
Up until it happens, I'm not gonna touch it. And then the other aspect is that the like metaverse being as a like something that will be replacing social media as of today. That is something I'm interested in, but I'm not actively working or kind of like looking into that, because like it will solve over time, I think. So the way I'm thinking about it is that the social media has like evolved over time. It has become the like most important business in digital or web over the last 10 years. And then I think that the like game can potentially replace that.
I agree.
Right, and then that is actually the like maybe you may call it metaverse, you may not, but I think that like that's what I'm interested in.
You're gonna. I'm gonna finish with Chris, because I know we've struck time.
I love what you said, Jacki. The metaverse is more than VR. I love what you said. I absolutely love that vision of VR. I think it's a lot of fun. I think also a lot of people have read sci-fi novels, and it's no dig on Ready Player One or Snow Crash, but I think a lot of bros have kind of read those and misinterpreted them quite wildly. I'm really not interested in digital ownership personally, and these visions of it just doesn't do anything for me. I'd highly recommend a book by Olaf Stapledon, The Star Maker, and there's a sci-fi novel by Kurt Vonnegut, and we've taken fragments of both of those novels and placed them in our virtual reality world, where we've got Galactic Soundgarden, where you can navigate playfully by sound.
Yes.
Really, really inspirational.
Don't get me on
sci-fi
sound.
about the world and body and embodiment, and I just think we're following the wrong sci-fi novels so badly.
100%.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for the whole panel. Thank you for your insights. Thank you, audience. I'm going to say goodbye.